So Lazada, you've all heard about what has been going on with Lazada, right? I mean, they've been acquired by Alibaba, the #1 e-commerce player in China and one of the biggest in the world. So I mean, this is definitely also helping to put these actors at the center stage of the e-commerce market in the region, right? But then also other emerging players like Shopee, 11th Street, etc. So what is a marketplace, right? I mean, that's probably the first question. A marketplace is not a model that is really happening offline, right? It's a very online-centric model where basically the brand or the seller sells directly to an end consumer, right? So it's very different than what we have offline with retailers like Tesco or like Central, right? It's a model where basically the brand and the seller is much more in control of what they are doing, right? The role of the marketplace in this equation is purely to bring traffic to the shop of a seller, right? And to build a technological infrastructure in order to allow the seller to operate online, right? Some marketplaces, like Lazada, they are also focused on building a logistics infrastructure in order to do that, right? Meaning that they are giving the brand as much responsibility as possible in terms of marketing, of promotions, of user experience in a way, but at the same time they are helping them with all the marketing aspects, all the technology that they provide, the data that they provide, etc. Right? Then you have pure play e-retailers, right? So pure play e-retailers, and you can see that Lazada is also in this bucket. They are players who are basically operating only online, right? So they are not offline players, but they are operating in a different ways as marketplaces, right? Meaning that they are buying inventory, they are acquiring inventory, they are in a way fulfilling the role of the retailers offline, meaning they are in the middle of the brand and the customer, right? So in this particular model, the brand doesn't have a direct contact with their customer, right? So there is someone in the middle. This someone can be a Lazada, a Convi, an Orami, a Luxi, etc., who are acquiring this inventory and managing all the aspects of retail, not for the brand actually, but with the product of the brand. So why, for example, why Lazada is in both? Because they do an hybrid model, meaning for some brands, for some products, they will act as an e-retailer, meaning they will acquire inventory from this brand. For others, they will act as a marketplace. Why are they doing that? It's all based on economics. It's all based on basically what are a lot of factors actually, but what are the, for them, what is the best model? Because for them, as for the brand, some models in some cases are better than others, right? So the point of being a retailer, for example, is that you can control the pricing for which you sell the product. And of course, in very price competitive categories, you want to control the price because you want to compete against all these other players and you want to demonstrate that you have a cheaper price than them, right? And by the way, Tesco is doing exactly the same offline, right? I mean, Tesco or Big C are always trying to demonstrate to the customer that they have a cheaper price on leading items, on top selling items than the others, so that people associate Big C or Tesco with like a good price point, and then they come back there, right? So Lazada is doing exactly the same online, but they cannot do it on so many brands because it costs a lot of money in terms of inventory, in terms of also these pricing subsidies, etc. So they only do it on very, very, very selected categories that basically will help them to establish some kind of price leadership in the market. Then we have traditional players like existing retailers that have been entering online, right? I mean, everyone now is aware of the potential of e-commerce, especially in the last couple of years in Thailand, right? And some players have been entering very fast, like Tesco, for example, have been entering this market very, very quickly and very aggressively, right? So these players, they are existing offline players, right? Existing retailers in different categories. So you have Tesco, like modern trade, but also central department stores, etc., who have been entering the online markets through websites, right? So web stores, central.co.th, Tesco also via Lazada. So that's also an interesting part, is that Tesco is a seller on Lazada, but at the same time, they also have their own e-commerce website, right? And that's part of also the multi-channel equation that we will discuss today, meaning that even a leading distributor, a leading retailer like Tesco, they believe that there is potential in also doing multi-channel and in cooperating with other players, right? The next category, quite similar, but they are not retailers, they are brands, right? So they are existing brands, leading brands, who are building web stores, right? So brand web stores, they are like the Adidas, Uniqlo, HP, AIS, Kiehl's, etc., who are building their own web store. And this web store, it acts like a shop, right? I mean, like one of their shops. So a lot of these brands like Uniqlo, Lancôme, Kiehl's, AIS, they already have offline stores, right? So they are already retailers, they are already direct to consumer players, and they are doing the same offline, right? So online, sorry. So they are building a shop online to sell their brand. And then finally, social media and mobile, right? So obviously you all know social media and mobile in terms of like as users, right? But social media and mobile players are also playing a role in e-commerce, right? So you have some people, I mean a lot of people actually selling on Facebook, selling on Instagram. Mostly these people, they are small sellers, right? So they sell fashion items, they sell makeup imported from Hong Kong, China, Singapore, etc. But some brands are also doing that, right? Some brands are also benefiting from these channels. Why? Because these channels have a huge reach in terms of users. I mean, especially in Thailand, if you look at Facebook, they have a huge reach, meaning that you have a huge pool of potential customers that are on this platform. And some brands believe that they can tap into this pool in order to generate e-commerce sales, right? Are there any questions on this? I mean, just as an introduction on the type of channels that are on the market. Okay, so what are the, I mean, now we've seen pretty much what are the channels, the type of channels where we can play in, right? But then we need to look at the brand side also, right? And I know a lot of you are actually from this brand side, and as brand managers or people from the brand side, you have concerns, right? And the concerns also depend quite a lot based on the type of brand that you manage, right? But you have some concerns that need to be addressed when selecting a retailer, and you cannot also do anything you want because you have to maintain a certain brand image, etc. Right? So what are the different concerns, right? So one, the user experience control, right? Meaning how much you can control different aspects that impact the user and that are related to also how your consumers will perceive your brand, right? So for example, how much control does the brand have on marketing within the channel, right? That's usually a very strong concern. And how much control has the brand on how and where their products are displayed? Meaning, one example can be in fashion. Some brands do not want to be associated with others, right? So for example, you don't want your brand that is a premium brand to be right next to a very cheap white label, for example, right? So these are key concerns, and for a lot of brands, they are also make or break in terms of selecting a channel, right? The marketing within the channel is also the image of the channel, right? Meaning how, what is the perception of users? Why are users going to these particular channels? What type of users are going to this particular channel, right? Then there are some commercial and commercial control concerns, right? So pricing and stock. How much control does the brand have on pricing and promotions? And that's what I mentioned also before. some retailers are using some brands to demonstrate price superiority over others. For some brands, it's fine because they are commodity brands and they just pretty much care about the volume. For others, it's not, right? They don't want to start a price war in their market. They want to maintain a certain price control and avoid that, their brand is destroyed by people doing constant discounts, etc. Right? So this is also a concern that brands are looking at. How much control does the brand have on inventory level? Also, a lesser concern, but sometimes you want to know. A retailer also will not necessarily maintain a certain level of stock because for whatever reason. So we will also see how it impacts the choice of the channel. The marketing investment needed. So how much marketing investment is needed to operate on this channel? We will see later that different channels have different marketing investment. The operational effort, how much effort is it to operate this particular channel, right? So different channels have different, as we discussed before and we will discuss later, have different level of engagement for the brand, right? So it's very important first to be aware of what does it mean to enter this channel, right? What do you need to do? And a lot of brands, when they enter online, they are not necessarily aware because there are a lot of new models, right? So this operational effort concern is something that needs to be looked at and really addressed when we're selecting a channel. And then finally, the type of brand, right? So meaning that some brands, and that pretty much also goes in each of those concerns, some brands do not, some brands are very, very concerned about their image, right? The brand image. And being on some channels, they are concerned that this will negatively impact their brand image, right? So that can be simply because there is a mismatch, for example, in terms of consumer group, but also in terms of brand neighbors, right? Meaning, what are the other brands, what are the other sellers on this platform? One example could be that, for example, a brand like Lancôme, right? Luxury brand, they will not want to be on a channel that has gray market products from Lancôme that are imported from China or from Singapore, etc., which a lot of e-commerce players are doing, right? But it can also be that a brand like Lancôme doesn't want to be next to a much cheaper brand, so that basically when the customer is browsing on this channel, they see one Lancôme product next to a very cheap product, right? And that's why luxury brands also control their distribution and where they sell, right? Because they want to maintain their brand image, right? I know it doesn't necessarily make sense for everyone, but that's one of the key concerns of a lot of brands, actually, right? Any question? Okay, so now we've seen all these concerns, right? So now the question is, how are different channels basically meeting or not these different type of concerns, right? So we have all the different type of channel in columns, right? So the marketplaces, the retailers, the brand web stores, and the social media. So basically, each of those channels, as you can see, so how it works, right? This slide is that basically if the little round is full, right, it means that it means high, and if it's like empty, it means low, right? So basically, if you look at user experience, for example, you will see that marketplace, they are, I would say they reach a medium level of the user experience control, right? Meaning that on the one hand, you can control some aspect of the user experience. So you can, for example, build your own shop. You can pretty much design your own shop. You can put your own content in there. You can somewhat control how the user sees your brand, somewhat, right? But at the same time, you don't control all the marketing that is done on the platform. You don't control how your product will appear on the catalog page, etc. So it's a model where you control some of the things, but not the whole not the whole equation, like it would be the case on a web store. So if you contrast this with a web store, on a web store you will have full control of exactly what how the user sees your brand. The homepage of the web store, all the marketing, all the content, how the products are organized on the web store, all of that will be decided by you, right? On a marketplace, some of these factors are not. The worst case, of course, are the e-retailers, right? Because the e-retailers, they are not even asking the brand how they want their brand to be placed, right? They just place it, right? They might ask, but it will be just a very high-level discussion. But in the end, they are the ones deciding what content they put, what marketing they use, etc. Right? The second concern in terms of commercial control. So that's one where also very, very similar, right? On the marketplace, the good thing with marketplaces is that you can control your pricing and your inventory, which are two really key concerns of brands, right? I mean, you can decide how much you will sell each product, how much discount you do, etc. Right? And this is a very good thing for a lot of brands because they are concerned about controlling this. Why is it's not full? Why is it not a full rounded like blue? Because the marketplace is always pushing brands to do more activities, more discounts, to also stock more, etc. Right? Meaning that here, in a way, the brand is free to do it, but they will definitely have the marketplace communicating with them very frequently and saying, can you do more discount? I have a special activity. Can you increase the stock on this product because we believe we can sell more, etc. Right? So there is a degree of freedom, but there is also some tentative control from the marketplace. On the brand web store, of course, again, we don't have this concern. There is a full control from the brand, right? The brand decides absolutely anything that is going on in there. Same thing on social media. E-retailers, mostly no control because the retailers, again, acquires the inventory and decides what they do with it, right? The only thing is that some brands that are more powerful will manage to get some degree of control on the pricing through like the commercial agreements, etc. The marketing investment needed is pretty substantial in all channels except e-retailers, right? Meaning that on a marketplace, on a web store, there is an expectation that that the brand will need to generate traffic in order to lead customers to their shop, right? So less so on marketplace. Why? Because the role of the marketplace again is to bring some traffic, and they are doing a lot of marketing activity. But one thing that needs to be clear is that the marketplace is not here to bring traffic to the brand. They are here to bring traffic to an overall ecosystem, right? An overall marketplace. What it means that often the discussion with the marketplace will also be about can the brand bring traffic to their own shop within the marketplace? And basically, there are a lot of barter being done, meaning that, okay, I give you this, I give you visibility on my homepage, and you give me traffic from your Facebook page, for example, these kind of things, right? So there is an expectation, definitely, that from the marketplace, that the brand will also bring some traffic, and that's why the investment in terms of marketing can be pretty substantial. On the case of e-retailers, it's a bit different. I mean, should it be empty? Not necessarily, because there are also some agreements between the brand in terms of back margin, etc., to support some kind of marketing, but at least the marketing investment is a lot less important in general. The operational effort of managing those channels is very high for a web store, right? Very high for a web store. Why? Because again, and I think that, I mean, we can say that's why here on the web store everything is full, because basically it's all, the good and the bad have to be done by the brand, right? Meaning that, yes, you can decide pretty much everything, but you also need to do everything, right? Which is different from the marketplace, where the marketplace is doing something for the brand, right? So, very important effort for the web store. We will discuss a bit later what it is, but On the marketplace, at least it's split, meaning the effort of operating the channel. For example, all the technology impact is on the marketplace side, which is a great news because in e-commerce, the tech aspects are usually the most difficult one, right? Managing the technology of e-commerce is usually one of the most difficult part of these channels. So less concern on technology, less concern on marketing, etc. So the operational effort is much less, and on an e-retailer, same thing. I mean, much less impact because the retailer will take care of most of the operations. So what are the type of brands that we can expect on all of these channels? And this one is very, very general, meaning that there are a lot of exceptions, right? It's, basically, each brand will have different requirements, different needs, right? So just as an overview to simplify, on the marketplace, you would have like almost all type of brand can technically go to marketplace, right? The exception are selective retail brands, meaning brands that are controlling their distribution, like luxury brands, right? Like Lancôme, for example. But even now, we're starting to see globally a trend that these brands are actually starting to consider or actively entering marketplace channels. The example being same Lancôme and the L'Oréal luxury brands that are actually in China entering a player like Tmall, which is like Alibaba, so Lazada owner, right? And even in Thailand, some luxury brands are starting to enter Lazada, right? So we're even seeing this. That used to be the kind of the only wall, basically the only kind of brand that really would never go on marketplace were the luxury brands. But even that is starting to change. Not for all brands, of course. Like it's very. I mean, you will never see Chanel or Hermes on Lazada, for example, right? I mean, at least from the brand side. But yeah, I mean, so there are some changes, but still that's a rule that in general is still applicable. Also, it's not only luxury, by the way, right? I mean, if you look at Nike, if you look at Adidas, they also have this kind of policy, right? Even though they are not necessarily selective retail, meaning that they are selling to other retailers, but they do not want to be on marketplaces because they also recognize that the marketplace will have price pressure, etc. Right? So they are also maintaining kind of a separation, right? E-retailers, pretty much the same, right? I mean, it's the same the same story. The main difference being that the main difference between e-retailers and marketplace is more on the commercial side, actually, right? Brand web stores. So I mean, when you see that, you might think, well, all brands, should have a web store, right? Because there is so much control. The web store is meeting pretty much all the concern. Of course, it's a little more difficult to operate, but I mean, still, it makes sense. I mean, it seems to make sense. Yes, but you need to have a high awareness brand, one, or you need to have a very strong marketing budget. And a very strong digital marketing strategy, right? Because it's pretty simple, right? A brand web store is just building something and then waiting for people to come, right? So you can do that offline. You can build a shop in a mall, and you can expect that people, are walking through this mall, are seeing your shop. But offline is not. Online is not the case, right? Meaning online, you have to generate your own traffic. So how do you generate your own traffic? Well, I mean, if you are Adidas, you have a ton of people typing Adidas on Google every day. You have a lot of people being fans with Adidas Facebook page, so you can generate this kind of traffic, right? For free if you want, I mean, without necessarily paying. But anyway, you will need to buy traffic. You will need to bring people to your shop, and it can cost a lot of money, right? It can really. It's a very substantial investment. That's why marketplaces are so successful, because they remove part of this cost, right? And that's why they are so successful, right? So web stores usually brands with high awareness, brands that usually have shops also offline, like the Adidas, Uniqlo, Kiehl's, etc. This type of brand are successful in general. once again, it's not a rule, right? Meaning that, you know, for example, P&G, Procter & Gamble, they also have web stores in other regions of the world, and it can work, right? But again, right, I mean, usually in the state of the market right now, what we see are succeeding is the brands that have high awareness, and especially on the relatively higher end of the spectrum, right? Yeah.
Just have a question on how each of these should be worked together, as especially for, let's say, for new brand. I take that we can't do everything at once, or should we do multiple things, or
yes,
how should that? What would be the recommended combinations of things that we should do at the start?
Yes, that's a great question. Actually, we have a slide just after that. If you can wait for this, but yeah, no, but that's a very good question. That's the main question, actually, right? How do we? I mean, when we see that, it's obvious, like, you don't want to be in one place only, right? So we'll see later what is how we can tackle that, and there are a lot of implications of that. Okay, so just to kind of wrap up on the pros and cons of main channels, right? So we discussed before, just to make it a little more practical, right? So marketplaces, they are easiest and fastest to start, right? I mean, there is no question about that. It's very easy, very fast to set up a marketplace shop. As long as you have the content, it can be done in a few days, right? Low startup cost, right? So, I mean, to start up, you don't need to invest anything almost. Ready customer base on the platform. So you already have a lot of traffic, a lot of people. Usually the marketplace will help you at the beginning. If you have a well-known brand, they will promote you, etc. So you will immediately have traffic coming to your shop. And also you can access new customers, new customer segments, because that are browsing your brand, right? Because basically, again, because the marketplace has a lot of traffic, so basically some of these people will just discover your brand through the marketplace, right? The negative side, you have limited control on user experience. We discussed that. The marketing investment is still needed to stand out from the crowd. I mean, most marketplaces, especially Lazada, they have millions of SKUs, tens of thousands of sellers, and all of these are competing for, okay, a lot of traffic, let's say like 50 million per month or 60 million per month, but still they are competing, right? Meaning that they are competing for this traffic, right? They are competing for visibility, etc. So there needs to be marketing investment to bring your own traffic in a way, but also to convince the marketplace to help you promote your shop, right? And we also discussed it potentially can be damaging to the brand image and price in the long term, because the marketplace is pushing for pricing, for discounts, and also might be mixing your brand with brands where you don't want to be mixed with, right? E-retailers, the good thing is that it fits with existing brand distribution models. So usually, good example would be a brand that is already working with Tesco offline. It's very easy to work with Tesco online, right? So similar to, they are similar to an offline retailer. There is no startup cost. The economics can be the same as offline, and no operational involvement needed. So for a lot of brands, like consumer goods brands, they just continue. They just continue doing what they are already doing, meaning they don't want to get involved in e-commerce. They don't want to have an e-commerce team. They don't want to invest resources. They just sell it to someone. They can sell it to Lazada, to Tesco, to others, right? And then they rely on these parties to do the job for them, right? But of course, the problem with that is that there is absolutely no control, right? Meaning that you put the fate of your brand in the hand of a retailer, right? That can be good or less good, etc. But you rely on them, right? And a lot of brands, that's the whole thing with e-commerce. A lot of brands want to be direct to consumer more and more, because they see also the value of reaching the customers directly, right? Then the brand web stores, the good points are full control on all marketing, commercial, ability to gather and use CRM data. This one I didn't mention before, but that's a key, right? If you have a web store, you can collect all the user data. You can collect all the CRM. You can have people register for newsletter, but also, and what it means that you collect email addresses, you collect phone numbers that can be used later to target again these consumers, right? And that's actually one of the main tool of e-commerce, and that's one of the main reasons that there is a huge benefit for brands to go direct to consumer, because collecting this data means that you build your own customer database, and usually it's much easier to do marketing on an existing customer database than to do marketing on just a general Facebook audience or Google audience. All the metrics of marketing are much better. The ROI, if you send a newsletter to existing user, the open rate might be 25-30%. Then you might have a very good conversion rate, etc. Which will not be the case if you just do a random ad on Facebook, for example, right? So this, I think, is one of the number one reason why brands really want to open a web store, especially brands that have quite frequent purchase cycle, like for example, luxury cosmetics brand, right, where people will literally buy every couple of months or every month, right? And then you can really activate these people, send them emails. You can even send them emails saying your night cream is probably finished, right? Because it's been 6 weeks you've bought it, so buy a new one, right? These kind of things. And then the last point is that full integration, right, between marketing, analytics. So you see, and that ties up really with the CRM. You see all the data, right? You get all the data. You know how many people come to your shop, where they come from, what they are browsing, how long they are spending. And by the way, marketplace, some of them have the goal to provide this kind of data, but most of them don't do it right now, and most of them don't do it fully, right? So that's a big difference. The negative point, high startup costs. So I wrote minimum $50,000, but to be honest, it can go much higher than that, right? I mean, building the website, launching the website, building all the content that is needed, all the operation, etc. That's really a minimum. For some brands, it's not a lot, right? I mean, you're thinking $50,000 or $100,000. Some shops cost much more than that to open, right? But not all brands can do that also, right? And then that's just the startup cost, but then there is the marketing investment that is needed to generate traffic, right? How much is this marketing investment? Honestly, it's hard to say, right? It really depends on the brand, but I would say a minimum of 15. I mean, the sales that can be generated, a minimum of 15 to 30% of the sales that you hope to generate. But it's a bit circular, meaning that it's a very, very rough guideline, right? Okay, back to the question from earlier. So what to do, right, with all these channels? So first, a multi-channel strategy is the key, right? I mean, online as it is offline, most brands, the vast majority of brands are doing a multi-channel strategy offline, right? That's especially the case of the brands that are working in modern trade, for example, where basically these brands, they cannot rely on one retailer, right? So they want to have several retailers. Why? Because they want to balance simply their sales, right? They don't want to rely on one retail partner. For those of you who have retail partner, you all know that it's also not easy necessarily to work with retailers because there are a lot of tensions related to what we mentioned before, the commercial part, the pricing, the assortment needs, etc., the promotion needs. So it's important also online to have the same mindset. And another thing is that we've seen before that all these channels have different pros and cons, right? And it's worth it to mix them, right? Meaning that one brand might have a very strong awareness, might want to have their own web store because they have a huge CRM data, they can activate the CRM data, etc. But why not be also on a marketplace where their brand can be discovered by the user of the marketplace and they can acquire new customers from this channel, right? So again, there are many different reasons why it's very important to be on multiple channels, right? But not all also, right? Meaning that it's more effective, and also that's an answer to the previous question. It's much more effective to also to start with a few channels, 2 or 3 channels, and to do it well, right? Because, I mean, it's an effort, right? I mean, it's not something easy. Launching a new channel, especially a web store or a marketplace, is not something that is easy. It doesn't work. It's not turnkey. It doesn't work immediately from the start, right? So it's worth to select a couple, 2, 3 channels to launch them either together or in a kind of in a phase, and to make them work, right? With a marketplace, there will be a time to also to learn what is working, what type of promotion, what type of assortment, what type of pricing, what type of marketing is working on this marketplace. That might take like 6 months, that might take 1 year to understand better what is working, what is not working. Doing that on 5 different marketplaces and 3 retailers and 1 brand web store, etc., at the same time, it's doable, but we need a big team then, right? I mean, we need a lot of people doing that, a lot of people doing analytics, doing reports on that, a lot of people talking to the retailers, talking to the marketplace. So practically for most brands, it's not, it doesn't work, right? So better to start with a couple of channels, for example, 1 marketplace, 1 retailer and 1 web store, right? Or a couple of marketplaces, etc. It can go in different ways, right? And do it well and learn and then expand, right? That's usually, well, at least that's what at Ecommerce we suggest our clients to do, and most that's what they are doing. All right, then let's just focus a little more on the marketplace side, right? Why? Because the marketplace today is the biggest. The marketplaces for e-commerce in Thailand today are the biggest channels for brands, right? It doesn't mean that the other one are not interesting, but at least as of today, they are the biggest type of channel. So we will spend a couple of slides on like also detailing a little more how do we choose a marketplace, and also there are many marketplaces in the market, right? So the first criteria of choosing a marketplace is definitely the popularity and traffic, right? Meaning how big is this marketplace in terms of how many people are visiting this marketplace, but also what kind of people, right? What kind of users, male, female, what age, what degree of affluence, etc., right? There are huge discrepancies in the market today in terms of marketplace. You have a player like Lazada that has many million, like dozens of millions of visits per month, and then you have much smaller players that have only like 100,000, 500,000 visits per month, right? So we will see on the next slide, it's the difference is very, very big, right? So it's very important to look at that. Of course, we will see also in the next part, the first way to generate sales is with traffic. If you don't have traffic, you will not generate sales, right? So traffic is the key element on the sales equation usually. The second level is more on the profitability, right? Is the cost of sales, right? So marketplace usually charge commissions. How high are these commissions for a particular type of brand? That's a very important question, right? It can be 3%, it can be 10%, it can be 30%, right? So it's very substantial also in terms of differences. How cost effective are the other fees? So some marketplaces will charge marketing fees, will charge marketing packages. If you want to open a shop-in-shop, for example, they will charge you a fee, a monthly fee to manage, to operate, for you to open the shop-in-shop, right? So that can be fine because that can be a good marketing investment, but it needs to be assessed, right? Meaning what is the ROI on this marketing investment, etc. And then what kind of subsidies is the marketplace offering? right now, brands are, I would say, are lucky in the market in a way, because marketplaces are competing against each other. And how they are competing against each other is from two angles. One, they are competing for customers. So they are competing on traffic, they are competing on Facebook, they are competing on trying to get as many customers on their platform as possible. But they are also competing for sellers, right? They are also competing for sellers, and especially for brands, right? Why? Because now we are at a stage that the e-commerce market in Thailand used to be mostly C2C, so small seller, unbranded goods sold to consumers, right? This market is moving to B2C, meaning that the C2C is not disappearing, but a lot more share of B2C is happening, because in the end, brands are also more keen to go online and to convert their offline potential online, right? So how do they compete on sellers and on brands, especially by offering them free stuff, right? By offering them delivery, free delivery, or subsidized delivery. Example, a brand, consumer goods brand that have super low basket size of like $5, they might subsidize $2 of delivery, which is a huge subsidy, right? I mean, in terms of the impact that it has, right? They might subsidize delivery, they might subsidize marketing, right? They might help the brand bring traffic to their store for free, right? All of that, usually in a pitch of a marketplace, they will propose these kind of things. They will tell you, okay, we will make it work for you by lowering the cost of logistics, by getting you off the ground, by doing some marketing, etc. So it's a very important part of the cost of sales equation. Marketing support, so I mean, really also related to that, but how much visibility can the brand obtain on and off the marketplace? So very much also related to that, meaning that some marketplaces, they might commit to giving you a lot of visibility, to giving you a banner on the homepage, to give you Facebook posts, etc. Right? And does the brand offer a branded space? The marketplace, offers a branded space, which is right now the case for most marketplaces, meaning that most marketplaces recognize the need for a brand to have their own shop on the marketplace, and then they will offer a space to put on this shop and to even customize this shop based on the needs of the brand, right? And finally, how strong are the marketplace marketing campaigns? Right now in Thailand, a very, very significant share of e-commerce sales come from marketing campaigns. And when I mean marketing campaigns, I'm talking about what is sometimes called mega sales or mega campaigns. You might have heard of 11.11, you might have heard of 12.12. Just a few days ago, there was the 9.9, right, of Shopee. So it's very simple, right? In terms of marketing, they don't need to think too much, right? But it's these sales, they are the ones that have a very strong impact on the sales generated by the marketplace. Why? Because they concentrate a huge marketing budget on one day or 3 days, and it's very effective basically to create a very strong awareness among customers. Customers start to see everywhere the brand of, the marketplace, for example, Shopee or Lazada, they start to see it on the BTS, they see it on Facebook, they have push notification on their app, they get an SMS, they might get a newsletter by email. What it means that they are concentrating all their marketing media, and they have a lot, we will see also later, on one day, and that kind of generates a huge spike of traffic and a huge spike of sales, right? So right now, these kind of campaigns, they are very key, and partnering with a marketplace that has this kind of campaign, somewhat guarantees that you will benefit from it. As a brand, you will benefit from it because you will be able to piggyback on this marketing campaign and to get a lot of traffic during these marketing campaigns, right? Then the category positioning, and it's kind of back to the concern of the brand. So different brands have different also expectation in terms of that. So what are the product categories sold on the marketplace? Some marketplaces, they are generalists, right? Like Lazada, they pretty much sell anything, and more they are selling like anything, including groceries, etc. Right? But others, like Orami, they are focused on very narrow categories, like mom and babies, right? So basically, diapers, milk, and some skincare, etc. It's a very narrow focus, right? So some brands, like electronics brand, will not benefit from selling there, but a diapers brand will definitely benefit from selling in there, right? Then how do they position themselves, basically, also, I mean, in terms of marketing, what is the image that they want to give, what kind of customers are they acquiring? That's the kind of thing that also a marketplace will definitely share with a potential brand seller, right? And then finally, we are already touched on that, the operations, right? So it's important to understand because, once again, working on the marketplace, we need to operate the shop, right? So it's important to understand, to be aware before launching of what are the implications of that, meaning what are the tasks that need to be done on a day-to-day basis, right? So most marketplaces have a backend, seller center or seller office or these kind of things, right? So it's important to understand how is this backend, how is it operated, is it easy or not? Some marketplaces have very good backend, some less good, right? What are the features that are available on these backends, right? So some features can be, some marketplaces have very advanced marketing features, but also reporting, etc. Others have only, you control the price, the inventory, your product, that's it, right? Can the marketplace integrate through API with third parties, such as channel integrators? So that's kind of e-commerce, right, us. So you also, I mean, you have two options when working with a marketplace. I mean, you have a few options, right, also. You can do it yourself, right? Meaning that as a brand, you have an e-commerce team. The e-commerce team manages the relationship with the marketplace, manages the content management on the marketplace, etc. Then you need a partner, most likely for the logistics part, definitely. I mean, except if your company is already doing that, but most brands are not, right? At least B2C deliveries, right? So you need a partner for that, but then you can do that, or you can partner with companies like Ecommerce or like channel integrators that are basically helping you do pretty much the whole cycle, right? So it's important to understand anyway, do they have an API, meaning a tech link between their system and other systems? And usually most marketplaces, like most leading marketplaces, have that, right? And also, finally, important, right? Because I mean, as a brand, you want to see visibility on what is going on the marketplace. And most brands we see now are very keen on getting advanced reporting on, you know, what is going on in terms of customer information, in terms of like even like the ROI of some promotion or something. So what kind of reports does the marketplace provide, right? It can be very basic report, like just saying, okay, here's how many items you sold and that's it, right? Or it can be much more advanced, such as the source of traffic, where is the traffic coming from, how much traffic comes from Lazada or from the marketplace, how much traffic comes from the brand, what is the conversion rate of each product, etc. Right? So it can be pretty advanced. I think not this afternoon, later this morning, you will get a session with Mary, who will go through more detail on the analytics, right? What kind of data are usually needed, or at least are good to have as a brand selling on the marketplace. Okay, just now, I mean, to really go through actual examples of marketplaces and of retailers, right? So a selection, I would say, no, I mean, not all of them are there, right? But of marketplaces and channels like retailers in the Thai market, right? You're all familiar with Lazada. Lazada is a marketplace retailer founded in 2012, so it's been now 5 years that they are operating. They have actually 66 million monthly visits just on desktop. And actually, probably more than half of their traffic comes from mobile, right? Meaning that in this 66 million, you actually don't have the full traffic because a lot of it comes from app, which is not included in there, right? They have 10 to 20 million app downloads in Thailand, right? So huge coverage of the population. So they are definitely right now the biggest marketplace in Thailand, right? Then you have Shopee. Shopee is an app initially, so mainly an app, right? So and also has been a very popular kind of marketplace app, especially initially for C2C sellers, so sellers that are I mean small sellers that are selling to consumers. But now are also moving more and more to B2C model and trying to get some brands and actually, I mean, getting some brands to sell on this platform to leverage their existing user base, right? So they have probably 3 to 5 million app download in Thailand, which is also very substantial, right? And then you have others, right? So I won't go through all of them. 11th Street has been a marketplace, a regional marketplace coming from Korea that has entered in Thailand just this year. Luxi, formerly known as Zalora, right? Been bought by Central Group, and that's what I was mentioning before. Very focused, one of those channels that is focused on particular categories, fashion and beauty, especially fashion. Orami, I was discussing before, mom, baby, and pets. That's their positioning, which is mainly a retailer, right? Mainly a pure play retailer, meaning only online, founded in 2014. And then also just to look back also in time, We Love Shopping, one of the pioneers of e-commerce in Thailand, part of True CP, which used to be probably the dominant marketplace in Thailand. They were founded like 13 years ago, right? And now, I mean, it's only a C2C marketplace, right? Meaning like small sellers selling. Still very successful because they have 6 million visits. But that's also illustrate kind of a shift also in a way that this player, We Love Shopping, Tarad, were the dominant player a few years ago, like 5 years ago. But now all these new players have been entering the market and really kind of taking over, and especially on the B2C side, right? Meaning that We Love Shopping is still very big probably on the C2C side, but on the B2C, there have been new players. The market has evolved quite a lot. And by the way, this, I'm pretty sure if we look at that next year, it will have totally, I mean, not totally, but change, right? Meaning some numbers will be up, but also some players might be gone, others might be included. You might have new players coming, like for example, JD from China, which is the competitor of Alibaba in China, will enter Thailand through a partnership with Central, right? So the e-commerce market, something to also understand, is very fluid, right? We at the very beginning, right? I mean, especially on the B2C side, we really saw I would say the growth of the B2C market in the last couple of years, right? So it's very, very new, and all of that is still moving very fast. Every year there will be very important changes, right? So that's why it's important. I mean, also the e-commerce strategy, the channel strategy, it cannot be set and say, okay, in the next 5 years, let's do a 5-year roadmap. We work with these two people. It's not how it is actually, right? I mean, the strategy should be reviewed probably every 6 months or every year, at least in the foreseeable future. And the execution should be reviewed much more frequently than that, actually, right?
Quick question.
Yes.
What about the marketing fee on average for the success product selling in those marketplaces? On average, how much the percentage they spend on marketing?
You mean on the brand? How much do they spend on marketing?
Yes.
Yes.
Is it solely spending or co-share or purely done by the marketplace?
Yeah. That's a good question, and that's one of the key questions that need to be explored, right, when looking and working on a marketplace. So first, it's hard to say. I mean, it's hard to say in a way that it varies like enormously, right? Meaning some brands do not invest anything almost, and others will invest huge amount of money, right? So I would say that the best case, what we see in the market, the best case is really about a partnership, between a strong marketplace like Lazada or Shopee, right, and a strong brand, both bringing to the table marketing investments, right? So typically, to illustrate that, how it works is that for the mega sales I was referring to before, right? So an 11/11, which is probably the biggest e-commerce day in Thailand, right? You will have a marketplace providing some kind of packages or providing some kind of visibility, right? And this visibility will be conditional to a brand bringing something to the table also, right? So this something will be definitely promotions, pricing, but exclusive products, bundles, etc. But will also be marketing from their own media, Facebook, Facebook fan page, website, Line official account, this kind of media, right? So in this case, we could say that the brand doesn't necessarily invest directly in marketing, but just use their existing assets. But some brands also chip in actual like money, right, to do that. Some brands will even do TV commercials, or will even do buy display on the BTS along with Lazada or Shopee, etc. So how much? I cannot tell you because
when I see the number is quite good number.
No, but this number.
Cheaper than the traditional.
Yeah, but that's the thing. This number is just the commission.
Yes.
Right. And again, I think that's a very good question, right? Because again, this number, it has to be taken in context, right? Meaning, when you refer to traditional, I imagine you refer to offline retail margins, right? Which basically are all in, pretty much, right? I mean, you might have front margin, back margin, but that's it, right? But here, that's just the start, meaning that you have a fee that you pay to a marketplace when you sell something to cover their marketing effort, to cover their technological platform, etc. Right? But on top of that, you have logistics, meaning you need to deliver this product. You sold a product to a customer, you need to deliver it to the customer.
I thought they provide that.
No.
No?
No, that's the thing. So marketplaces, some do, right? A look-see, for example, they will probably include it, but the commission will be much higher. Okay? So your responsibility as the seller is to send those products that your customer ordered to the end consumer, right? That's why I was saying before, either you do it with a logistics partner, someone like Ecommerce, etc., or I mean, anyway, you need someone to do that, right? Meaning you need DHL or Carry or someone to pick up these products somewhere in a box, right? And then to send them to the end customer. And this has a cost. This cost, how much is it? It usually varies, right? If you're selling luxury items, it might not be much, right? Because it's on the share of your basket size. If you're selling consumer goods, it might be 30%, 40% of your basket, right? So yeah, this plus the marketing, etc. So all in all, marketplaces, are they cost effective against offline retail? It depends, right? Meaning that sometimes they might be slightly more expensive than offline retail in the beginning because you need to build the channel. But sometimes they will be also cheaper to offline. So those are the kind of things to look at when considering the strategy. Okay, so the next part, so launching an operating channel. So I will go quite fast on this because I want to focus on the next part. But basically, it's just an overview of what needs to be considered when launching and operating channels, right? So this one, is just a conceptual slide, right? In terms of there are several phases of launching an online business, right? So there is first a soft launch, meaning that at the beginning you just launch it, right? And you don't do everything, but you just launch it. Then there is a full launch where you really do all the marketing activities. You are sure that during the soft launch, all the operational issues are cleared, all the content is there, etc. And then there is like a steady improvement until you reach the point where you work pretty much like offline retailers, right, with joint business plan, category plans, a lot of reporting in terms of sales, promotional analysis, marketing analysis, etc. Right? So that's pretty much the spirit. Again, on e-commerce, it's a new industry. There is a lot of learning to be done, right? And this takes time. This might take 6 months, 9 months, 1 year, right? Launching a marketplace. So what do we have in terms of launching a marketplace? So two phases, right? I mean, one phase being to get everything ready. And again, a lot of brands, they might not be familiar with that, but getting all the SKU list, no problem, etc. But also getting the content ready. If the content is not ready, someone has to do it, right? Someone has to take the picture, write the description, etc. Forecasting the stock, of course, working on the campaign strategy, the shop-in-shop design, meaning like how do we design the shop within the marketplace, and all the admin and documentation, etc. And then there is a phase where you actually execute the launch, right? Meaning that someone is creating the content on the channel, setting up all the campaign, the promotions, etc. Purchasing or transferring the stock to the inventory locations for the logistics warehouse fulfillment, right? Creating the shop-in-shop, etc. Right? So that's what I mentioned. So soft launch, it's very important to have a soft launch. Why? Because there are a lot of things within this that can also go wrong, I would say, right? Meaning you might not have the full content ready, you might not have all the stock ready, etc. So it's a lot of brands, they want to do a super strong launch campaign, but it's important to also give a couple of weeks or 4 weeks to make sure that all the operations are ready and tested before doing a big marketing push, right? That's very important because it's, again, new channels, people don't have necessarily the experience of operating it, etc. So infrastructure, yeah, I mean, just this one, if we look at what aCommerce is doing and just like spending 1 minute on that, we are actually simplifying this for brands by having a tech infrastructure, right? That is a system, right? A system, multi-channel management system that plugs into the different sales channels online and does pretty much the whole operational things, right? So managing the orders, meaning getting the orders that are coming on the marketplace into our fulfillment center warehouse. Inventory allocation, meaning allocating the inventory that is here to these different channels. Managing the content, so pushing the content to the different channels also. And catalog, same thing, product catalog, and having some dashboard, right? So this is an example of basically, practically, how to operate a multi-channel online environment, right? You need to have a plan, right? Meaning that all of this needs to be done by someone, right? Again, this someone can be the brand, right? I mean, it can be a team within the brand. As long as you have these parts, which is mandatory, it can be internal also, right? Maybe in the warehouse of your company, they have the capability to do B2C fulfillment, but someone needs to do this part, right? So it can be automated, it can be manual. A lot of people right now in Thailand, because again, the market is not that mature, are doing it manually, and it can work up until a certain point, right? It can work up until the point that you get many thousand orders a day, and that you have a lot of operational issues, that you have 5 different channels to manage, etc. Right? So that's something to be considered, at least. How do we operate those channels? Okay, so that was just a brief intro, but now what I wanted to focus on are more like what we call the key pillars of e-commerce success, but basically, what are the key success factors of managing, especially a channel, right? And we focus mostly on this, on the marketplace and brand web store aspects, where we have the most control, right? So the framework that we have basically is this, right? So you have, on top, you have e-commerce sales, which is pretty much the goal of any companies, especially at the beginning. Most companies at the beginning, they really focus on sales, right? Profitability, they do, but to a lesser extent, right? Meaning that they want to get it off the ground usually, right? So how do we generate e-commerce sales, right? So there are three main pillars, right? The first one is the traffic, meaning getting people to see your product, the brand products, the brand shop on a channel, right? The second one is the conversion rate, right? So the conversion rate is how many of those people are actually placing an order, right? And the third one is the average order value, which is the average basket size, right? In baht, right? How much do they buy for each orders? Each of these pillars, they have a few more. I mean, they can be subdivided in different elements, right? So we discussed a little bit about the traffic. Most of the traffic, if you work on a marketplace, will come from the marketplace, from the channel. But some of the traffic will come from the brand side. Some of the traffic will be organic, meaning it will come from existing assets. Another part of the traffic will be paid, right? Will be bought on Facebook, on Google, by affiliates, etc., and brought to a channel, right? Of course, in the case of a web store, we're only talking about the last two boxes, right? Conversion rate, the main driver of the conversion rate is just a metric of basically how well the traffic is converting into sales, right? And the main lever for that is usually the pricing and the promotion, right? Meaning that to increase the conversion rate, typically, is to have a good price and strong promotions. We will see what are promotion. It doesn't mean necessarily cutting the price all the time, etc., but at least pretty much making an interesting offer to the customer, making customers want to buy. And by the way, it's exactly the same thing as offline, right? I mean, there is it's not an online specific thing, right? It's pretty much the same, but there are some specificities to online, some things that can be done better or less well than offline, right? Then the product and marketing content, also very important, meaning selling the product on the platform, having the right content, explaining the product, right? Explaining why people should buy this product. That's, of course, important for any brand, but especially if you have a brand that has benefits that need to be explained, like, you know, skincare brand, why should you use this kind of brand, etc. And the last one is one that it doesn't really increase conversion, but it can really kill it, is the stock availability, right? Meaning that do you have your available stock for your best sellers, etc. If they are not available, of course, people won't be able to buy, and your conversion rate will drop. And the last part is the average order value. So one, the assortment strategy. We will see what it means. And bundling and cross-selling, where we can also group products together, like it's also done in offline, right? On the foundation of that, we have three other things. Operations, we discussed a little bit about that. Fulfillment, delivery, return management. That's something that needs to be done, right? Needs to be done by someone and needs to be done well. The typical example is that if you get this one perfectly right and you have a huge spike of sales, it's great. But then if here you don't have the stock available, if physically, your fulfillment is very slow, your delivery, I mean, maybe, I don't know, you have your old delivery, etc. is slow. I mean, if this infrastructure is not following, then this whole thing falls apart, right? Because customers will be angry. They might not buy again from your shop because they know that last time you didn't deliver. You might have penalties from the marketplace. You might have cancellation from the customers if you take too long to fulfill, or cancellation forced by the marketplace also, right? People, of course, so having an e-commerce team or people who are in charge of e-commerce. I mean, this doesn't work without people managing it, right? But also channel relationships. Again, if you work with third-party channels, all of this requires involvement from at least two parties, meaning the brand and the channel team. If this relationship doesn't happen, this whole thing will not work really well, because a lot of boxes here, they rely on both, on the discussion between both. And then finally, business governance, so measuring and managing performance, meaning that kind of ties up with this one, but having regular meetings with the different parties that are involved, with the operation team, with the marketplace team, with the marketing agency that the brand is hiring, or the third party like ecommerce that the brand is using to manage this, etc. So the marketing, the first box, right, the traffic, we have 3 types, as I mentioned before, right? Traffic from channels, organic traffic from brand, paid traffic from brand. So very simple. We already kind of went through that, right? Each of the players, meaning the channels and the brand, have multiple marketing assets to play with, right? The question is how to get those assets and what are the best assets to use, right? So marketplace, they have a lot of media on site. They have a lot of banners, of course. I mean, if you log into any marketplace, you will see a lot of brands, a lot of sellers, a lot of products that are displayed. This is a marketing device, meaning it brings traffic, it brings sales to a seller, right? Social media and mobile, most marketplaces are heavily investing in that. Facebook fan page, line official accounts, Instagram, and then paid media, also something that the marketplaces are strongly investing in. So Google SEM, example, if you type any known brand on Google today in Thailand, I'm pretty sure you have a Lazada ad. And you might have another ad. You might, if you type Mami Poco, you might have an Orami ad or something, right? So for sure you will have this for all the brands in the market today. Google Display, affiliates, so affiliates working with bloggers, for example, right? Working with bloggers, giving them a commission because they send traffic to your product. Facebook ads, right? So this is a very high-level vision. If you look at the full list, it's probably you have 30, 40 different marketing channels, right? Where traffic is coming from to the channel, right? And of course, the number one factor of working with a marketplace is to access this, right? I mean, that's the number one factor. Access traffic, access millions of visitors. And the part on this is to convince the marketplace to redirect some of this to the brand shop, right? And this is done by acting on all these levers, by also acting on this, but also on the promotion side, right? So on the brand side, it's pretty much the same thing. A lot of brands have CRM, they have SMS database, they have newsletters. Lots of brands have Facebook fan page, line official account, and brand website. That's, I would say that's a quick win to redirect traffic from these existing channels to the marketplace. And of course, to trade this against this, or to trade this, to trade this against this, right? Meaning to say, I will send an SMS to my 100,000 customers and redirect them on your platform, but I want an homepage banner to do that, right? I mean, that's the kind of discussion. Probably very similar to offline, right? But with different channels, different marketing assets. And then, as I mentioned before, some brands are even going one step further. And what they are doing is that they are actually buying traffic and sending it to the marketplace, right? And if you have a web store, this part is very important. Meaning if you have a web store, these two parts are the only part that will generate traffic. Visibility, right? So just a quick example. What is homepage visibility? Well, that's what it is. So this one is 2111, so the 1111 of Lazada last year, which was postponed. Visibility, I think on this one on La Roche-Posay, right? L'Oreal, one of the L'Oreal brands. So you can see the type of visibility that they get. So they got like main event tab, they got like dedicated tab for L'Oreal, category tab. So what it means that they are, when you open the app of Lazada on this day, you pretty much see the L'Oreal brands pretty much everywhere. And so how it's done, it's exactly by what I mentioned before, right? By trading a lot of things, right? So L'Oreal is a heavy marketing. I mean, a brand that is using a lot of marketing to drive traffic to e-commerce, very successful e-commerce brand. And that's what they get by doing that, right? So that's an example, kind of, I would say, a case study of the type of visibility that you get. And keep in mind, during this day, Lazada was getting probably the highest traffic of the year, right? So it's very substantial because most traffic is actually coming there, right? Most people that are logging to Lazada, the millions of people that are logging using the Lazada app this day are seeing this, right? Promotions, so the second pillar in conversion, the promotion thing. So basically, it's key. I mean, as in offline, right? Having a promotion calendar with all the operation that you have and aligning this promotion calendar to the marketplace activity, right? If you have a very strong promotion, a new launch, etc., it's good to align it with a lot of activities that the marketplace, that the channel is doing.
I just got a question on traffic. You haven't mentioned about how to target traffic. Because if you're selling premium things and you get their traffic just for the sake of traffic and it's like mass segment coming in, then those traffic doesn't matter, right? Yes. But how do we target those traffic, especially for small business where we might not be a well-known brand like the L'Oreal?
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. I mean that's a great question. So of course L'Oreal, especially some of their brands, they are a mass market brand, meaning that it's very good for them to be on the homepage of Lazada because most people that come in there will be potential buyers. If you look at brands that are more premium or that are very specific, right? That's a different story, and that's why it's not necessarily a good thing. I mean, it's not necessarily saying, okay, everyone should aim for that, because no, right? I mean, these cost a lot to implement. The result will be great for L'Oreal, will be great for Unilever, etc. Will not be so good, for example, for adult protein, right? For example. So that's why, I mean, all these assets, they can also be targeted, hopefully, right? So the idea is to really target the right channel for the right brand. That's why, like, if you look at CRM is definitely the highest performing channel because you already have you already know these are your customers. But then even Facebook ads, for example, can be very targeted, right? Or Google search is very targeted because they are for people who search for this particular product. So definitely, yeah, there needs to be another thing on the marketplace side. Marketplace can also usually target people from a certain customer group, right? For example, they can target people that they know to be mom, or that they know to be, because they bought a lot of diapers, that they know to be people who are caretaker of elderly people because they buy, for example, adult diapers, these kind of things, right? And that's one of the things that for a specialist brand, this discussion needs to happen on really, okay, how do we properly target the traffic? And usually the good marketplaces, they are able to do that. Yeah.
Excuse me. Here.
Yeah.
Sorry. So within the marketplace, what are some of the effective marketing strategy or like ways to bring traffic to your brand?
Within the marketplace.
Within the marketplace.
Well, few things, right? I mean, the best one is to get visibility on what is called visibility, so banners on the key pages. So for example, homepage, category page, like skincare page or sport page, or this kind of, depending on your product, that's the main way, right? But that's not the easiest necessarily. The other way is that most people are searching, are browsing, are searching the marketplace for a particular product, a particular category, right? Like lipstick, for example. And it's important to optimize the content, to have the right product title, to have the right content also, so that you will rank higher on the marketplace for this kind of keywords, right? Each marketplace has a different algorithm to sort the products, right? Most algorithms, they are still very much linked to sales, meaning that the highest selling product will be displayed on top, right? But there are other criteria. Content can be one of them. And I think will be more and more one of them, meaning products that have the very good content will be ranked higher than products that have not so good content in terms of words, images, etc.
Good content, you mean like having the keyword that match search words? Or
Yes.
Are there other types?
Yes, I mean that's the basic is to have the keyword that matches. Let me go to actually this slide, right? So content, that's what it is. I mean, basically the basic thing is to have the right product pack shot, right? And then so some marketplaces are actually ranking, also favorizing the brands that have several pack shots, several images. So like this one that has 3 or 4 angles, right? But also more detailed content like this one, which really explains in detail what is this product, right? So it's a skincare product. It's like pharma grade, right, for some specific condition like acne, etc. And then this content actually will explain much better. So some marketplaces are actively, at least, helping brands to rank higher with better content, right? That's one of the things. But to be honest, mostly today it's about the keywords and about the sales impact. So that's why it's kind of also circular, meaning that you need to generate sales before you can rank higher. So that's why it's very important to organize like promotion activities during the launch phase, to organize marketing campaigns so that your product can start selling and then climb up the ranking and then generate further sales down the road, right?
I have a question. Let's say you have a brand.com page, and I'm trying to compete with Lazada. How do you beat them in terms of marketing and get the traffic to your page instead of when a customer searches for my product, they get linked out to Lazada?
Yeah, that's a good question. Competing against Lazada in terms of marketing, I don't think is the best idea. But I can definitely see this concern, meaning that you will have a brand that Lazada will most likely bid on this brand, and you will bid on this brand too, right? To be honest, I'm not an expert on online marketing per se. I think you will have a session soon on this. So I'm really not. I mean, I guess this one is a very technical question in terms of like the bidding strategy on Google, right, or on Facebook actually, or on any. But that's not really my field. My field is more on the channel side. But I guess, I mean, again, right, Lazada and a brand.com, they are totally different channels, right? And it's important to also understand that you're not playing in the same field, right? Meaning Lazada is playing on a different field. Lazada is also playing with thousands of brands. You're playing with one brand or few brands. And there are definitely opportunities to differentiate your marketing from Lazada. Because Lazada, I mean, I don't know what brand you are referring to, but except if it's a top 100 brand, it's all automated, right? Meaning it's all like probably robots or, I mean, algorithm or something doing this, right? So a human focusing on that should hopefully be much better in terms of targeting the best traffic, right? Yeah.
Back to the pricing and promotion strategy.
Yes.
For example, like if we work with all marketplaces, how can we price our price? Like, should we align the prices for all marketplaces, or we should do promotions separately in each period, like different periods?
Yes. Yeah, that's definitely a key concern for most brands. Brands do both, meaning that some brands do they align, right? Other brands are splitting the promotion calendar. For example, when Shopee has a huge sale, they go deep discount on Shopee. When Lazada has a huge sale, etc., they do the reverse, right? I think it depends. It depends a lot on the strategy. It depends a lot on the brand strategy in terms of like how do they want to appear also in the market, and also the relationship with the marketplace. Meaning that you might have a case where the marketplace will. That's one of the things I mentioned initially, that the marketplace will really push for the cheapest pricing, or the at least align the pricing in the market so that they don't have another marketplace cheaper than them. If you differentiate the promotion by channel, you might have the case that a marketplace that, for example, is your biggest marketplace will see that you are doing something with a small marketplace, will call you and kind of complain about that, right? Same as offline, by the way. I mean, this one is exactly the same, right? So I guess it depends on your relationship with the marketplace. It depends on how visible it is. It depends on if you care about this relationship or not, right? And how much you can accept to have a negative impact on the relationship at some point. But I mean, I'm not saying you shouldn't do it, right? Again, brands do that all the time. It again depends on more relationship concern. And for example, if you want to get something from the marketplace at a later stage, etc., how much do you want to give and take? I guess for most people in the offline world, most commercial people, that's what they do 80% of the time also, right? Those managing different channels, managing those concerns, right? Do we still have time? Or?
Yes, so you can go through maybe 2 slides that you
2 slides, yeah.
and then
Okay. Okay, so let me skip this. Yeah, so bundling in terms of assortment, one of the key concerns of selling online, because you have, again, we mentioned a logistics cost per order, a delivery and fulfillment cost per order, right? Very different from offline, where there is not this variable cost, right? So the size of the basket is very important, right? So 2 things to manage the size of this basket. One, selecting the assortment. For example, not selecting the cheapest products, the cheapest range of products. Some brands have that, right? If you are a consumer brand, not selecting the super small format, but selecting the bigger format that is more expensive in order to get the AOV higher, but also doing bundles, right? So offline also does bundles. The advantage of doing bundles is that you can raise the average order value. You can also do some promotion on the bundle, etc. The whole goal of that is to basically reach a certain level of average order value that will allow you to meet your profitability target, right? One caveat on that is that the AOV, the average order value, the basket size, we cannot increase it infinitely, especially without impacting the sales. What it means that if you try to sell, like Nivea here, if you try to sell huge bundles of Nivea with 20 items on it, it will not work because people will not buy them, because people want to choose, right? They don't want to buy 20 products of Nivea at the same time, especially products that are not necessarily the one they want, right? So that's a trade-off, right? There is definitely a trade-off, meaning yes, you can increase the AOV, you can do bundle, you can select the assortment, but be careful not to impact. Meaning be careful to still be able to serve the customer's need. If not, your conversion rate will drop, your sales will be negatively impacted. So it's a trade-off also between profitability and volume, right? That needs to be managed. So this one I will skip, this one I will skip. So just case studies, right? Few case studies, just to wrap up and to show that basically there are different brands are doing different things also, right? So L'Oreal, and this one, they are like clients of ecommerce, right? But L'Oreal that operate in Thailand and Indonesia, they have different type of brand, different level of brand. They have really mass brands. They have like Maybelline. They have mid-range brand like La Roche-Posay, which are usually sold in pharmacies. And then they have super high-end luxury brands like Lancôme, right? So interestingly, for each of these brands, they do very different things, right? I mean, for mass brands, they definitely are very focused on marketplace. They don't have web stores, etc. Only focus on marketplace, investing a lot of marketing. And again, that comes back to that. They can invest a lot in marketing they really focus on the mass, and they focus on maximizing the traffic on their brand, right? And they have a very strong relationship with the marketplace like Lazada, and that's why they also get a lot of visibility on this, right? But then you have Lancôme. Lancôme is totally different. They cannot sell on marketplace. They cannot sell really. They can only sell, in department store or in their own shops. So basically, Lancôme, they have a brand.com, right? And this brand.com, they generate a lot of traffic and very strong CRM. Lancôme has a very strong CRM system. They have a lot of SMS from their existing customers from offline, and they use this email address to now direct traffic occasionally to their website and also to their shops, right? Meaning it's not about cutting the traffic. The website, the SMS were anyway used before, right? It's not about saying now we push all the SMS to the website. They balance it, right? Meaning sometimes they push it to offline, sometimes they push it to online, right? HP, again, very different type of brands, right? I mean, first, HP is usually a brand that is sold through distributors, through multiple level of intermediaries, right? Distributors, retailers, etc. HP is very far from the customer, actually, in general, right? But in the case of HP, it's also a website, but it's full multi-channel, right? Meaning that it's a website, it's marketplace, multiple marketplaces, and it's also a model where there are components of B2B, B2E, meaning that small business also are targeted to convert the sales online. Basically, before, HP would have a call center calling small businesses, trying to sell them like printers, laptops, etc. And this was all done through the phone, right? But now with this kind of thing, you can actually redirect these people to order on a website, right? And it's a big game changer because it's much more efficient also for everyone involved, right? And then finally, Adidas, and I mentioned them before as one of those brands that also doesn't want to sell on third-party channels, on marketplaces, on e-retailers, because Adidas is actually a very strong brand, especially at the moment. It's one of the strongest brands in fashion in general, in sport and fashion. They are lucky to be able to sell their product without much discounts, without much promotions. They just put it out there. They have new launches, full price. They can sell like lots of units, right? And so they consider that given their position right now, given the strength of their brand, given that many people want to buy it anyway and will type it on Google, will go on Facebook, will try to find it, they consider that they don't need to go on a marketplace. Because if they go on a marketplace, yes, they will get more traffic, but they consider they don't need it. And two, they will also get price pressure, right, from the marketplace. So say, can you do it's 11/11? Can you do a discount? Can you do 30% off? Can you do this? And basically, they don't need it. So they use a web store, and they have a web store in each country, and it's working very well like this. Will they never go on marketplace? I'm not saying that, right? They might actually go pretty soon on marketplace. But at least at the moment, and in the past couple of years, that's not something that they have felt the need to do, right? So behind that, there is a real strategy on why they are doing that, meaning they have a reason to do that, which on a business sense seems reasonable, right? But again, I mean, going on a marketplace could expand their sales potential. The question is it worth it, right? And I think that's what most brands are faced with, this kind of trade-off, right? And that's the kind of trade-off that a brand like Adidas is discussing. All right. Well, that's it. I mean, we still have maybe question. A few questions. Yes.
So, does all of this also apply to the B2B market? So can we treat a B2B customer the same way as a B2C customer?
So we actually at ecommerce we are doing quite a bit of B2B at the moment for some clients like HP, for example, right? And the difference with B2B is that you have many different B2B models, right? Many different B2B models because you have many different Bs, right? I mean, basically, you have the B2B that is to sell to a retailer, right? A small retailer or reseller, etc. But then you have the B2B of selling to a small business. The example being HP, where HP, I mean, small businesses always buy like printers, laptops, accessories, etc. And these people need to buy it from somewhere. And I would say that these people they are quite close to a normal consumer, except they are buying more, right? Meaning that sometimes these people, they are the people in charge of that. They might be the IT people from a company, they might be procurement, etc. They will go online, search for something, search for HP laptop or laptops, and then find the best possible deal, right? And these people are actually buying on regular e-commerce channels sometimes, or on a specific B2B. So I would say that, can we treat B2B as B2C? Not exactly, because I guess the main difference is the marketing, right? The channel itself, I think it's fine, meaning if you have a web store, if you have an HP web store, you can use this web store for both B2B and B2C. But reaching out to customers, you still have to make the effort to target these particular customers, right? And how do usually companies do that? Usually is through CRM, and or CRM or sales, right? Basically, they still have people on the ground, or they still have people on the phone. Interestingly, right? Because I mean, it's e-commerce, but still, you still have this. I mean, they still didn't find a way to replace the phone, really, right? So you still have these people calling companies, calling a list of companies, and asking them, do you have IT needs, right? Do you need a printer? Do you need laptops? And that's how they get these customers, right? But there are also cases where small sellers are buying from a bigger a brand directly, or a bigger wholesaler. And these people are actually finding it online. And you even have some B2B marketplaces, etc. So I would say there are many models. In terms of channels, it can definitely be accommodated in a similar fashion as B2C. In terms of marketing, probably there are some differences. Yes.
You mentioned that we should do all e-commerce channels, right? Like, for example, if we sell in all marketplaces already, and you mentioned that we should do our own brand store as well, because there's pros of having own, managed customer data. But I'm just curious on the end customer side, on what the value proposition on why should they go to the brand store. If, for example, if we work on all marketplaces and the price cannot be like a lot lower, because marketplace will be quite upset. So what should we do in this situation?
Yes. I mean, that's definitely a good question. So what we see is that actually a lot of brands, they are less competitive in terms of price on their own website than on the marketplace, right? That's pretty common. But some brands still manage to get very good sales on their web store, in spite of not being the cheapest option, right? So I believe it's also due to like brand loyalty in a way, right? That some people, they are users of this brand, and again through CRM, through like receiving regular newsletter updates, etc. They still maintain the web store as the place for them to buy this product. I believe it's also linked to a concern that is to buy directly from the brand in a way, which some people, even though they might not realize that when they buy from Lazada and when they buy from the brand, they actually buy exactly from the same supply chain. They might not realize that, but some people actually prefer to buy from a brand website, especially some kind of products that are more sensitive, like skincare, etc. They will prefer to buy from a brand web store than from a marketplace, because they probably believe that it's a the chance of also the risk of a scam or the risk of a fake product or expired product, etc., which some people, by the way, in Thailand still very much associate that with marketplaces, right? They still associate, because marketplaces, as I mentioned before, have always been, for 10 years, like C2C dominated, where there were fake products, there were imported products from China, like what is called gray market or parallel import, etc. And some people still associate very much with marketplace this, right? Marketplaces are working very hard to change this perception, of course, and I think it's changing. But some people still want to prefer to buy from a brand web store. And then the last part, which is more, I would say, the value of that. What value can a brand offer to a customer through a web store? I guess it's to generate value added, right? Meaning not through pricing. So what can be this value? This value can be in the content part of the website, but this value can also be in really managing the CRM, managing the customer, and offering additional products. One example is Philips in Singapore. They are actually selling all kind of accessories for their product, which I think are more replacement parts on their website, but nowhere else. Meaning that people are actually buying from their website these replacement parts, right? So I would say there are a few things that can be done, but yeah, the question is definitely one that needs to be addressed when developing a web store instead of just going marketplace strategy.